welcome back to the channel. Today we've got something a little bit disturbing to report on. Another First Amendment fraud exposed as being a guy who liked his own children a little more than is natural, and he got exposed by Lucid Dream, and then he got a better exposing by Andrey Slone. I'm gonna mirror Andrey Slone's video on what this guy was accused of, what he was found guilty of, what he was acquitted on. It's gonna be disgusting. So, yeah, he's gonna get added to the wall of shame here. Anyway, let's just get into the video. It's disgusting.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all are doing fantastic out there today. And I have spent the last 2 days, well, since yesterday and today, doing a very, very, very deep dive on a frauditard channel so we can expose him for the sick and twisted and vile piece of shit that he really is. I'm sure a lot of you saw the Lucid Dreams video on this person's channel just yesterday, and where she exposed him as a scammer, where he was charging like $300 or more to have your name or information or your image removed from his videos. He was also exposed as becoming very, very angry and threatening when his videos were privacy struck. Well, my question is, why pay this scammer hundreds of dollars to remove your info when you can simply write to YouTube and privacy strike his video? Screw him if he doesn't like it. You know, is he really that hard up for cash that he needs to extort you for your money? Well, since Lucid Dreams video, he has removed that extortion form from his website. Must be he got a little worried about people talking about that. And guess what? He's closed up his TikTok channel so that it is private now. He's even lost support from some other frauditards out there, such as Zachary over at the Liberty Troll channel. Well, as you see right there, so, you know, really that should tell you something. It's pretty bad when other criminals out there don't want to associate with you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the Good Citizen News Network, Mr. Scott Jack Frauditard from down there in Florida. I'm not even going to give you the city he's in. Who shouldn't even be allowed to breathe the same air as us good folks, let alone be allowed to be on the internet. Now, he's trying to portray himself as a quote-unquote good citizen when he's anything but a good citizen. As I said, the Lucid Dreams video exposed him a little bit yesterday, and tonight I'm going to finish the job. Tonight, we're going to keep the pressure up on Good Citizen News Network since, you know, he likes to delete comments violating my First Amendment rights. You know, just another typical hypocritical frauditard criminal, ladies and gentlemen. So buckle up and get ready, because you, by the end of this video, you are going to hate a human being, if we can call him that, more than you hate Tyrant Terminator audits. As you can see, old Scott or Jack, or who cares what he calls himself, has a few vehicle and traffic violations in his past. But tonight, I don't give a shit about those. I am putting them on here just in case you want to pause the video and take a look at them. Look them over, see that, you know, he can't drive for shit either. But tonight, I want to get right into why Scott or Jack or whatever is anything but a good citizen.
Okay, folks, get ready for some vomit-inducing charges that have been filed against this guy. And I actually went and looked him up on the Florida SO registry, and he wasn't there, and this video explains why. One of his charges against his own family, he got reduced to a different charge, so he didn't end up showing up on the registry. He doesn't have to register. And that's pretty disgusting in and of itself. Anyway, let's go ahead and listen to these charges.
Well, all right, as you can see, his criminal history goes back to 1997. That's the earliest I could find for criminal charges. Out of Broward County, Florida, September 29th, 1997, 4 charges, 2 of them felonies, 2 of them misdemeanors, grand theft in the 3rd degree, criminal mischief, 2 of them, and 1 count of theft. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 3 years probation with $1,000 restitution. On 8/13/1998, he was had a violation of probation, and he was given 7 months in jail. Now, that was on count 1, grand theft, 3rd degree, as a felony. So he's been a felon since 1997. Count 2, he pled guilty, and the adjudication was withheld on the criminal mischief misdemeanor charge. And count 3 and 4, there is no other information on those charges. Now we're going to go ahead quite a few years. May 16th, 2002, possessed cannabis, 20 grams or less, which was a misdemeanor. He pled nola contendiere. The adjudication was withheld, and he was given a $263 fee, and he had to complete substance abuse through abuse program. June 25th, 2002, just a month later, he got picked up for possession of drug paraphernalia in Broward County. It says he pled guilty, but there was no disposition shown. On October 11th, 2002, we've got a battery that was a conversion. It was a misdemeanor, and that charge in Palm Beach County ended up being dismissed. And we got some more drug charges here on February 9th, 2004, possession of drug paraphernalia, Broward County. He pled guilty and says he was given 5 days in jail. We've got another charge on, December 3rd, 2004, disorderly conduct, said he pled guilty, but there was no disposition on that charge either. Oh, this is where it's going to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. We've got June 2nd, 2005, aggravated battery, which was a felony, but he was not indicted on that charge. Interesting. But go ahead 4 years to November 20th, 2009. He's charged with domestic violence battery out of Broward County. That was a misdemeanor, and he actually was acquitted by a jury. But not even a month later, just a couple weeks, he picked up more charges on December 2nd, 2009. He picked up 6 charges, 1 felony and 5 misdemeanors. Domestic violence tamper with a witness, which was a felony. Domestic violence violate pretrial release 2 times. We've got domestic violence obscene or harassing phone calls. We've got another violate pretrial release charge and a stalking charge. Now, count 1, the felony, he was found guilty by a jury. He was given 30 months in state prison with 299 days credit. He was given a $517 fine and fees that he never paid. And count 2, he was found guilty by the jury. He was given $92 fine and fees. Again, he was sentenced to 299 days in jail, which would have been time served, and he never paid that fine either. Count 3, he was found not guilty by the jury, and count 4, 5, and 6, there is no further information. Well, if you think this guy's a piece of shit, just wait. It gets worse, folks. It gets much, much worse.
Well, so far we've just got a petty criminal. It's amazing how many of these First Amendment auditors have criminal records, but this one just got added to the David Warden Hall of Fame. It's just disturbing. Anyway, let's finish it up.
And on January 7th, 2011, he ended up being charged with aggravated child abuse. The original charge, which weirdly the court docket says he was charged on January 1st, 1994, as sexual battery of a victim less than 11 years old.
Now, I can only strongly assume that because they reduced that charge from what it originally was to aggravated child abuse, that he doesn't have to be on the registry. They lowered it from that kind of a charge to an aggravated battery charge, which is thoroughly disgusting. I mean, I think they've stiffened up since this guy got nailed, but, that's pretty disturbing knowing he got such a minimum punishment on such an egregious charge.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're reading that right. So on January 6th, 2011, he was arrested on that charge. And a year and a half later, in October 11th, 2013, there was a diversion for mental health. He was sent to a mental health hospital for a while from the jail. And then on January 17th, 2014, there was an order from the court to return the defendant. And on October 2nd, 2015, he pled guilty, or he was found guilty. He was given a psychosexual evaluation. He was ordered no contact with persons under 16 years old. He was given $668 in fine and fees, which he never paid. He was given 5 years in state prison with credit for 1,742 days. That's 4.77 years that he did in jail in the mental hospital. And he only ended up having to do 2 whole months in state prison, as you see right here. Here's his mugshot from prison. And he was in prison from October 2nd, 2015 to December 6th, 2015. After that, he was put on 2 years community control from December 29th, 2015 to December 29th, 2017 with a GPS monitor. And then when all of that was done, he was placed on 5 years of state probation from December 30th, 2017 to December 30th, 2022.
I've got a little different view of what should have happened to this guy, and unfortunately it didn't, but let me kind of show you an example of what should have happened to this guy.
Voting for the wood chipper!
Done, he was placed on 5 years of state probation from December 30th, 2017 to December 30th, 2022. Now, on January 20th, 2016, he's arrested, as you see here, on a warrant for violation of community control. And on 1/29/16, he was actually charged with that. He was ordered to remain on community control until December 29th, 2017. State probation was up to 20 years, it said in the court documents, which would have taken him until 2037, which is very interesting because his other paperwork doesn't show that. And a $728 fine and fee, which he never paid. Now, as you see, on March 10th, 2016, just less than 2 months later, he's arrested again on a violation of community control. And this time he was allowed to remain on community control again. Then it says 5 years of state prison to start on 4/13/16, followed by 2 years of community control, which is interesting because he didn't do 5 more years. Community control was upped from April 13th, 2021 to April 13th, 2023, followed by 8 years of state probation from April 14th, 2023 to April 14th, 2031. And he was given another $668 fine and fees, which he's never paid. On January 27th, 2023, he had a reprimand hearing for something to do with violation of probation. He had to complete a B&K program. I have absolutely no clue what that is. And let's see, on March 7th, 2025, his probation was amended to allow him to travel to work and to St. Lucie, Florida for personal reasons. And a month later, 6 weeks later, on April 22nd, 2025, just last month, he did a pro se motion to terminate probation, but it was denied. But the judge did put his probation, converted it to administrative probation, which means he no longer has to appear at probation. He does not have to report anymore. Interesting, very interesting. And it actually says he gets done with probation, as you can see right here. It shows that he gets done with probation on December 5th. I think it said the 5th, on 2025. So he's still on active probation. He just doesn't have to report. Well, I do know now that today, besides myself, several other people have contacted probation down there in Florida about what he's been up to. So we'll see if that gets changed. I'm going to, maybe if I remember tomorrow, I'll try calling and finding out why one time it says he's got 20 years probation to 2037, and another one here says he's got probation to 2031. Different, I don't know. Different. That's weird. We'll see if I remember, and they'll talk to me. We'll see what they say. And ladies and gentlemen, if you think that was bad enough, it gets worse. The victim before was actually, interestingly, was his sister. His sister was his first victim, which he got the sexual battery charge for there. Ended up being aggravated child abuse. It was prolonged. It wasn't just once. So now we're going to go ahead to January 7th, 2011. He picked up 2 more charges that day. One for grand theft 3rd degree, which was a felony, and a violence injunction for domestic violence, both out of Broward County. Count 1, the grand theft, was dismissed. Count 2, he was acquitted by a judge after a jury trial. Very interesting there. All right, we're going to go ahead to April 4th, 2011. He's charged with battery again. Out of Broward County, and I'm actually going to show you this time, because there was 2 others in here where there was just no description of any disposition at all. This one has no information. It shows the charge, and then as you can see right here on this page, there's no information further on what they did with these charges. Doesn't say dismissed, doesn't say he was found guilty, doesn't say that they deferred it, nothing. And now, on April 12th, 2011, we have 1 charge of sexual battery of a victim under 11, which was a felony, 3 charges of lewd and lascivious molestation. This is going to be for his children. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he molested his own children.
That sounds eerily familiar to the actions of, what is it, Houston, News Now Houston. Earl David Warden did the same exact thing, ended up with 20 years in prison. This guy only ended up with 5, and his charge was reduced so he wouldn't have to be on the SO registry. Disturbing, very disturbing.
Sadly, very, very sadly, counts 1 through 3 were nolle prossed by the district attorney, and count 4 he was never indicted for. So the molestation of his children, he never received any penalty. All right, we're going to go ahead. We've got his divorce on July 21, 2010. Elizabeth Marie sued Scott Jack Dinglenuts out of Broward County for dissolution of marriage with children, and that was granted 11 months later in June of 2011. And just a few years ago, April 8th, 2021, Discover Bank sued Scott Jack, whatever the hell he wants to call himself.
Alright, I'm going to skip the last 10 minutes of the video. If you want to watch it, go over to Andrey Slone's channel and watch it over there. I'll put a link down in the description to this video where you can watch it directly on his channel. I wasn't interested in any of the other charges he got. He ended up getting divorced and all that over this. His wife had some charges, and he goes into that, and Andrey goes into that. There will be a link to this video on Andrey Slone's channel where you can check out Good Citizen News Network and his criminal history if you want to catch some screenshots or something, or remirror the video over at Andrey's to expose this guy. Anyway, that's all I'm going to do of it to keep it, as short as I can. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Y'all have a great day. Love y'all. Bye.